Here we go. Music, please. Extra. Yeah. I was wondering if they're going to play that kind of exciting music come the election in New York City down the road. Yesterday was a debate. New York City, you have in three corners, you have Curtis Silva, the Republican candidate, who has done very, 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 very little as the Republican candidate. You have Andrew Cuomo, the former New York governor, disgraced governor of New York, who wants to be the mayor now. And then you have Zoran Mamdani. And if you've been paying attention, you've got two sides to this story. You either love Zoran Mamdani because he's going to save New York, or you're petrified of Zoran Mamdani because he's going to sink New York and try to take the United States with him. It is actually fascinating that when you actually do the homework, and unfortunately, Stuart, in elections, many people love just to look at the headlines. They just want to look at the social media bites and get caught up and swept up in his charm and his ideas. But when you start to dig deep, you realize what Zoran Mamdani really stands for. He stands for hate, and he stands for destruction. And worse than that, he wants to bring what the United States fought for decades. He wants to bring communism to America. Welcome back, everybody, to the new Rant Network. My name is David Solomon. He is Stuart Brisgell. The Rant Network is an unedited, uncensored, unfiltered, and unapologetic podcast in which we talk about politics ad nauseum. We are going into the corners of the world and corners of areas where, frankly, people don't like to talk about. Well, maybe this one they're talking about a little bit more. So sit back today and relax as we dive into yet another crazy scenario in the reality game that's known as the United States of America. Stuart, New York, and when you came to New York, and my parents came to New York in 1964. They came through New York into Canada, and you saw Lady Liberty at the front. They came in on the boat. They came in and they realized that what North America brought was opportunity, the escape from hell. Now, my parents didn't escape from hell, but many of the people who came through, New York were coming from countries where it was miserable. Socialism, communism ruined lives. And yet, the United States was the beacon of hope. Post World War II was the beacon of hope. Pre World War II, beacon of hope. And yet, for some reason, in the last few years, this so-called beacon of hope is being beaten up because socialism is a better opportunity and a better option than capitalism. And you've got people like Zoran Mamdani, who not only wants to bring his brand of socialism to New York, but he wants to bring his old world hate with him. Stuart, what's your view on the future of New York City after this fall?
Well, first of all, I believe if Zoran gets elected, he represents the best real estate boom for the state of Florida in its history. and there's a lot of people who are cheering for his success. Let's reflect. The left runs around calling Republicans Nazis. The Republicans run around calling Donald Trump or any significant figure Adolf Hitler. Well, let's talk about Adolf Hitler and how in 2 years the Nazi Party successfully dismantled the democracy in Germany and consolidated it to total dictatorial power. And he didn't do it with force, actually. He did it with charisma. What does a charismatic person say? When Mandani was specifically asked, will you ask Hamas to lay down its weapons? Now, the immediate response of a terrorist organization by a Western leader, where the organization is listed as a terrorist organization, is yes, I think that Hamas should lay down its weapons. But the crafty guy, by Zoran Mamdani, says, I think everyone should lay down their weapons. Now, does that answer the question, David?
No, of course not. We know
Okay.
We know he won't answer the question.
Now you want to really go to the next question. When you talk about atrocities, he says and brings up that 5 Gazans were shot by Israelis. Brings it up out of the left field, not even a question posed to him. But what he fails to mention, nor acknowledge in the interview, the dozens of Palestinian Gazans being executed in the street with bullets to the back of their head. Now, would you think that would be a significant, newsworthy point that maybe you should? Now, let's go back now. Let's digress because I don't need David to answer that question because I know his answer. Let's go back now to how Adolf Hitler did what he did. He had massive construction public works projects like the Autobahn. He reduced unemployment and gave the appearance of restored prosperity. Right? He gave thousands of people a job and believed he created a major engine for economic growth, safety, and affordability, and created thousands of jobs. Now, doesn't the German Labor Front, this was the name of the party, sound so eerily similar to Mandani? David, yes, no?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So here we have the largest city in America, or North America, as David so eloquently put it, a beacon of commerce, right? The word is commerce in America, and probably one of the top in the world. But the banks are running and hedging their bets in Texas. The rich are hedging their bets in Florida because they're scared shitless of what this guy is going to do in New York. So Dershowitz took the microphone a couple days ago and said he prays for his failure in all aspects, because if he has any success, this will eerily become the cancer across America, which is exactly what Marxist communists want. And I don't see a candidate to derail this narcissistic, egotistical, morally defunct idiot. I can't call him anything else. He's an idiot.
I don't think he's an idiot.
I think he's a raving lunatic.
No. There's a difference between a raving lunatic and an idiot. He's actually brilliant because he did exactly what you just said. He's caught people's attention. Look what he's offering for. He wants to freeze rent prices. He wants to offer free busing. He wants to, city-owned grocery stores.
David, can I ask you a question? You mentioned a few things. How many of those items in any country have proven to be a successful?
Stuart, you're assuming that the electorate actually did their homework. And that's how I started the rant. Nobody's doing their homework. Because in 2020, this attempt at free busing was tried in Washington State. It didn't work. It did the opposite effect. Rent, this whole idea of city-owned grocery stores didn't work. Didn't work in the Soviet Union, won't work here. Defund the police, which he likes to throw out there. You've got a crime problem in New York City. What you're going to do is you're going to bring New York City back to the 1970s when no one wanted to walk the streets of New York at night. So what he's calling for, and with all due respect to Mamdani and his, rich education, equal distribution of, his ideas sound wonderful on paper. And the same way the Democrats vilified Trump saying all these are wonderful, but they're not real. You see, the Trump economic policies do make a difference to everybody. This is going after a certain base, Stuart. This is going after a very left, woke leaning base that loves this 33-year-old guy. They don't care that he's rich. They don't care that he went to a private school. They don't care that he's got a silver spoon in his mouth. And they don't care that he's talking from both ends of his ass. What they love about him is that the policies mean I don't have to pay for anything. We've been here before. When you say to people that the taxpayers, and I use that word on purpose, don't have to pay anything, is a lie. Because he wants to use racial based taxation on homeowners. The whiter you are, the more you're going to pay. Oh, that's an interesting philosophy. Where do you think people are going to run to? Connecticut, New Jersey. They're going to get out of New York City. You already see an exodus out of it, Stuart. You know, once upon a time, the city of New York was filled with African Americans and Jews. They're not there anymore. There's a reason. And it's the percentages of these have gone down significantly. And don't just say it's immigration. It's people are leaving. You started your rant by saying Florida's going to boom. Hey, Texas, Florida, the southern states all boom. You know why? They went to places where there are no taxes. They went to places where they can actually invest their money and make money. This is capitalism, baby. This is what it's all about. But instead, what Mamdani wants to do is to rip Donald Trump. Everything Donald Trump, he wouldn't give him credit for at all, about, releasing the hostages and the ceasefire. But the interesting thing is, Stuart, this is municipal politics. And that the city of New York needs to focus on municipal politics. But Zoran Mamdani, to get this base, wants to arrest Netanyahu if he comes to New York City, criticizes Donald Trump about his foreign affairs policy. Do you know any other mayor in the United States that continues to make comments about Trump's foreign policy? You don't, because it's not their role. The role of the mayor is to take care of the city that they've been elected to. Go fight about the ICE and go fight about crime in your city. I get that. You want to take Trump on, no problem. But the Israel, Palestine or Israel Hamas situation, it's none of Mamdani's business. But here's this guy who's not even a Democrat, by the way. He's running on the Democratic ticket, but like Bernie Sanders, he's not a Democrat. Here's a guy who's coming around and telling the whole world what he's doing to Netanyahu. And there's a wonder why Jews are petrified of him. Jews, according to a stat, make up 9% now of New York. There's no dent there. But you want to see 9% become 5? You want to see it become 3? Vote in Zoran Mamdani. You want to see more people with jobs to offer people, leave New York City? Vote for Zoran Mamdani. That is the reality, Stuart. And what you said was, a beautiful history lesson about what the Nazis did. But let me tell you something. Charisma can only take you so far. We saw this with many other leaders. Reality is, what's he going to do to the city of New York? And if you want to bring back New York to 50 years ago, and you want to take it from a city that prospered and it was the beacon of America and everybody around the world wanted to come visit, you want to take that away again? Vote Zoran Mamdani.
David, I can't say it again.
I don't think he's an idiot. I think he's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's got people he's got people. He's got people excited for him. He's got people wanting to vote for him. He's got, listen, we've got people from all ilks, Jews, African Americans, you name it, the Latinos, the whole, go across the board. They love what he says, but they also don't understand where he's going to take New York City. And the worst part is Mamdani's pissed at the Democrats that he can't get the endorsement. You want to know why? Because that's the next step to take the Democratic Party into abyss. You're going to kill the Democratic Party. You're fighting AOC. Poor Chucky Schumer is fighting AOC. Poor, Hakeem Jeffries is also being threatened by socialist candidates. Hakeem Jeffries is being threatened, Stuart, by the people who support Zoran Mamdani.
Yep.
The man is scary. And unfortunately, your point, there is no really good candidate. God help us. Stuart?
You know, as they say, last word goes to me.
Go ahead.
You know, we got another debate in New York. I watched the last debate. You know, you can't yell fire in a movie theater over and over and over again
Oh,
unless you're in New York City.
but apparently Zoran Mamdani can yell fire as often as he wants, Stuart, and people are going to run with the hoses and say, where? That's how dumb they become. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, for another week of the Rant Network. We so appreciate your support. We hope to see you again